Everybody get ready. H1 going down Friday, April the 28th. Driving and pit alongside Karen and Jenkins. Presents
Thank you.
H1 going down inside of the Caribbean Grill. 180 Bloomfield Avenue in Montclair, New Jersey. My time to shine. International progress. H1 my views and minds.
Why this much I feel like
Yeah, we can do that. Here? Yep. Plug in.
And the little one, right?
Yeah, the little one.
Here's your adapter. Oh, gangster today.
Jingles Entertainment in association with H&M Production presents a tribute to all mothers. On Sunday, May 14th, it's a Mother's Day dinner and concert starring Jamaica's living legend, Mr. Rashon and along with Jamaica's singing sensation, Ghost. It's a tribute to all mothers. On Sunday, May 14th, Mother's Day. It's a Mother's Day dinner and concert at Club Eclipse, 247 Fabian Place in Newark. It's a Mother's Day dinner and concert starring Jamaica's living legend, Ken Mood. Jamaica's singing sensation, Ghost. Also performing Jeffrey Smith and New Jersey's own Patrick Irie with MCs Greg and Lady D. Music by Unity Music, DJ Prento, DJ Jason, and DJ Earl. Dinner is served from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Showtime is at 8 p.m. sharp. Early bird tickets are available now for $40 in Somerset at the Island Breeze Restaurant, in Teaneck at A Taste of Island Spice, in Newark at Tasty's Restaurant, in Patterson at LNA Restaurant, and Golden Crust, in Orange at Unisex America, in East Orange at Tropical Flavors, and People's Choice Restaurant, and Michelle Restaurants in Irvington. Don't miss a Mother's Day dinner and concert Sunday, May 14th, Mother's Day, starring Jamaica's living legend, Mr. Rocksteady, Ken Boo.
The biggest outdoor water party to hit New Jersey, H2O, and Soca, formerly known as PCW. Go to H2O.eventbrite.com. H2O. That posted online about Julie? I really wrote it. Wasn't it hilarious? Is all of that true? Who cares? She's done anyways. Are you talking about that post about Julie? Yeah, funny, right? No, but that post about you was. What post? Oh, you didn't hear? You're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, and oh yeah, you smell too. The whole school saw it. No big deal. That's so mean. Did they really write that about me? No, but how does it feel?
Sometimes you can feel all alone when being bullied, and that's when you can really use a friend. If you see someone or know someone that's being bullied online, let them know they're not alone. Stand up now, support a friend, and save a life. For more information on cyberbullying, visit stopthememe.wordpress.com or call the hotline at 1-800-555-STOP. A message from your friends here at Splash Radio.
Looking for trustworthy tax professionals? Give Impact Corp a call. We will assist you with all your tax needs. We are a team of CPAs and IRS enrolled agents. If you are audited, our audit protection team will represent you at no out-of-pocket costs. We provide 3 years audit protection and a year identity theft protection, so you can have peace of mind without fear of audit. Call our team of tax experts today, 973-395-4401.
Yo, this is Splash Radio at the #1 radio station in New Jersey. What are them?
Splash Radio 94.3. Reggae, dance hall, soca, hip hop and R&B, African, disco, oldies but goodies.
Large upload boy, Mr. Lover. Shug it. Yo, the best station on the planet.
Splash Radio 94.3 New Jersey.
Well, I know some Mr. G represent for 94.3 FM Splash Radio. We just splash out the music on them.
Initialize sequence now.
Him. Your attention, please. This is no ordinary show. Covering news and information for Essex County, New Jersey, and beyond. This is the Eric Dawson Radio Show. Broadcasting from 94.3 Splash Radio. Now, here's your host, giving it to you like only he can. It's Eric Dawson.
Hey, this is Eric Dawson, and this is the Eric Dawson Radio Show, 94.3 FM. Calling number 973-457-8000. I'll adjust my camera later. Folks are weighing in about whether I'm in the view or not. I'll fix that in a minute. But the call number is 973-457-8000. We're tuning in Facebook Live as always, as you guys can see. And if you're listening through a mobile device, it's 213-493-0287. So, yesterday was election day. We're going to get right into it because the 2 hours always goes fast. Yesterday was election day. We're going to talk a little bit about that and some other things. To my left is Kevin Jenkins, and to his left is former chairman of the Newark Board of Education, Hasan Rashon.
Our resident genius.
Rashon Hasan.
Good morning.
Dude, I'm backwards today, man.
Yo,
how you guys doing?
You've been backwards like that for the last
man.
5, but it's all good though.
Listen, we got to do the post. You got to do the post. You got to do it the day after. Right? You can't, do the show the whole week and talk about education and don't do an analysis the day after. That's what about being a professional. You got to get up and do the analysis.
Absolutely.
So okay. Tell me, Eric, what did you get from yesterday? I'm going to help you lead in because you're always leading us in.
Well, I think that we have some issues.
You said that's an understatement.
I think that we have some issues, and I think that that folks in Newark ought to be very, very concerned. On a political front, there's a reshaping of how things are politically. There's some folks, because I've been in those rooms after Election Day, right, and all the so-called political bosses are now evaluating and they're making some assessments about how big their muscles are and what they're going to be able to do. And I also knew that this election was something that the mayor and the Councilman North Ward were working on to be able to position themselves, for a 2018 municipal election. And so I'm sure they're thinking about how their respective armies did. It's a lot of nuance to what happened yesterday. So that's on that side. But on the board side, and I'll ask the chairman to weigh in on it, but in terms of where these people are, whether they're going to be qualified to do what it is that we need to have done, what it is we actually need to have done. There was a guy who came into a post yesterday, and he said, the Unity Slate won. I'm looking forward to great things from them. So I said to him, what things? And he didn't answer me. So I replied again. I said, what things? What specific things are you now looking for? You championed for them, right? You supported them. So now what things are you looking for? And that is my concern now, Kev, that all of the people who were out in support of them, they have no idea really what they want them to do. And they're going to allow them to sit there and then, my biggest fear is that we'll get into that, they're trying mode.
Well, I think you, look.
I want to take a second and ask people to share the episode.
Yeah, you do have a point that we have a problem. I think we have 130 registered voters in the city of Newark, and only 4,000 came out, and only maybe 2,000 or some odd came out of the north. So that means the rest of the city is not plugged into the matrix at all. They're very angry. There's an undercurrent that's going on. So just think about this: 2 years in a row, we've had 2 school board elections. Last year. And I was telling a couple of my friends that this morning. Last year, when Gail supported the ticket, her person came in first. and the North Ward played a pivotal role. Now, you got to understand, let's do a break. Let's give people a history lesson. The North Ward has always done exceptionally well in primaries because that's their business. That's what they do. So they knew that their numbers were going to be 2,500 or maybe 2,700. That's a good day for them. But what I was looking at was how the South Central and West voted, right? We need to figure that out because that's going to tell you the big story about what's happening in our community, right? So we have a mayor base that's not coming out and voting for him based on what his beliefs are. So you had the charter school candidate, Flo, who won, right? Who came third. Last year, their candidate, the charter school candidates, came first. And this year, the candidate that they really wanted to win, Pat Bradford, came in fifth, right? So Reggie Bledsoe got a bump from the North because the North saved the day for them. Now, you got to understand, you got to put it in context. The North saved the day. If the North Ward didn't save the day, that means the African-American community feels disconnected, doesn't buy into what's being sold to them, and they have demonstrated that to us for 2 years. Because last year, the mayor's candidate came in third, right? This year, his real candidate came in fifth, and thank God for Nebo Ramos and his organization in the North Ward that was built by Steve Adebato, that they were able to have the numbers they have to give their candidates the opportunity to win. So they spent $150,000, $160,000 to have an 800, 700, 800, well, the numbers have changed because we'll see some other numbers. But they spent that kind of money to have an 800 vote differential between Charles Love and their other charter school candidate that came in third this time, not first. Because the city went to sleep on them, but the city was sending a different message. We're not happy. So now I'm a political insider, so I can have fun with this. We can talk about this all day. So I don't think that you should feel encouraged, but we should feel sad that nobody understands that from an economic perspective, our city is doomed.
Well, we
want to get on that.
So right? I am encouraged.
Let's go walk through this
because people need to understand
this.
This. People are encouraged. I'm
excited about unpacking
at the fact that people rejected.
Oh, they did.
What
they
rejected.
Saw.
So let's be clear, folks. There are no happy campers over there in the ed reform.
Oh, no. They were no. Listen, let me tell you what they were doing last night, and this is why I'm just excited about it. They was actually patting each other on the back. They were patting each other on the back, but the people that really saved their lives, but really embarrassed everyone, right, were the Latinos in the North Ward. So the South Central and West.
But even in patting each other on the back, do you think that it was because they really didn't understand what occurred, or do you think that they were really wiping the sweat off their brow?
What they were doing? Nobody wants to admit that they're scared as hell.
That's what I'm saying. They were wiping the sweat off their brow, going woo.
But that's true.
Yeah, you know.
But see, this is where the spin masters. I'm a spin master, but I know when you do spin for your client, it's got to be based in truth. So the South and Central and West, they riled up against it. They didn't come out to vote. They said, I don't believe in any of it. So there's an undercurrent happening in our city, right, we need to pay attention to. That's what I tell the Gail. I say, Gail, these people are not happy. Don't blame it on the rain. Don't blame it on the snow. I've been in a lot of elections in my lifetime. Been in rain, sleet, snow. People come out to vote when they believe in something. So they didn't believe in this. So that's the thing that I was saying this morning to my friend. I said, gosh, you got to look at these numbers. You got to analyze these numbers differently. The charter school people lost all parent support. Their person came in third, and if it wasn't for the North Ward, she would have been in an even closer race with Charles and Deborah, right? They spent $150,000 to pay all of these. Now, the consultants probably were not added in that, but they spent $150,000 to have an 800 vote differential, and if it wasn't for the North Ward, they would be in trouble, even more trouble. But what the message I got from the South Central and West is, you know what? We're not happy. You know what? We're not going to invest in this. You know what? I'm not coming out of my house. I'm confused about it. I don't understand why we're not managing this right way. So I'll always try to find out what's in the tabs. Like when you do a poll, right. Like what's in the tabs. So I'm looking in the tabs.
But there's not enough for them not to just not be happy though.
Well, just what I'm saying, right. I don't know. I can't speak for them and understand their angst. I'm talking about what my instincts tell me.
Right. I think your instincts are right. But beyond that now, folks have to do something.
Well, no, what we should be embarrassed about is we have 130,000 registered voters in Newark, 150. Can somebody tell me the number? I said only 4,000 people came out, but the 2,500 that came out basically was from the North Fork. The rest of it was snapshots from all around South Central and West and some of the East.
So when we talk about failed black leadership in our community, it was an indictment yesterday in the election in terms of the fact that this leadership has failed.
Hey, man,
people recognize it.
Anybody in City Hall going around patting each other on the back, they got a problem. Because you got to read in those tabs. You got to see what those people are saying. That's very interesting.
So this is what I saw with the election. So even, in spite of having...
I love doing post-analysis.
A unity slate, or let's say we just scratch the name unity from it, and we know that this was the focal slate or team that the majority of, quote-unquote leadership or elected officials were supporting. The fact that there were so many other candidates
15, right?
Who were at one point or another, affiliated with those organizations and decided to step out on their own and run in this election as opposed to supporting the slate shows that there is some dissension. There's a disconnect between the mission or the movement that was put in place in terms of establishing a unity slate and what those other individuals think or what their philosophy is. All right, so you could point to some people like Phil Sillinger. We seen him; he was an incumbent, former candidate who ran on the Children's First team. Denise Cole, who's been in that circle and who's supported initiatives from her perspective, but she stepped out and she teamed up with Phil Sillinger and Ryan Talmadge as candidates to form their own slate. So when you see that...
That was supported by NJEA.
Yeah. So when you see that, again, you have to start asking yourself the question as to why those individuals weren't a part of the current slate that was put together and why those individuals opted to go and step out on their own and do their own thing, right? So I say that to say if there is really true unity throughout the city when it comes down to education and selecting the right representatives for us and for our community, I think we would have saw a smaller pool of candidates. If you go back to this last year's election and you look at the number of candidates, there was a very shorter list of individuals who were out here running as individual candidates or individuals who decided to step up and form their own teams. Mm-hmm. And the reason was, at that time, it seemed that there were people who were very supportive of the unity concept, or people who at least wanted to go along with it for that first year to see how it worked. But turn around, come back to this school year, this school board election, you see that some of those individuals who were on that side supporting it before are no longer there. And again, they've stepped out into space on their own. The other thing that really stood out to me, I think Kevin touched on this already, is the fact that the North Ward consistently is able to bring out
look, I was told that Anibal in a meeting has said that that he had 3,000 votes. We got him. We got our 3,000. What are you guys going to do? So when I look at, but here's the question I want to ask you, Kevin.
That's pretty common, but it's pretty common.
No, it is common for what they do.
They always do that. They always.
I remember Steve used to do the same thing. Got 3,500 votes. But here's the question I want to ask you. When we look at the Josephine Garcia, and we see she's got 3,500. We see Reggie's got 3,382, and then we drop down to Flo. Now she was on the same ticket, but she's almost 1,000 votes trailing.
Well, because they cut her. They cut her in the South Central and West because their candidate was Pat Bradford. And they, all through the day yesterday and all several weeks prior to the election, they were cutting her. So they took the charter schools' money, right, and put it in their pocket. And what they did after that is that they abandoned her because they wanted to help Pat Bradford win so she can run in the West Ward.
So when you look at those 1,400 votes that Pat has, or 1,400 votes that should have been Flo's, had they been on a team with Flo.
So that's what I said. What the charter school people got happened to them, they got played. So now the administration took the charter school money, and now they owned by the North Ward, because their base is not buying this. Their base is not investing in this. Now, I think they did themselves some harm.
Because I got a question for you now, because
now we're doing our post analysis now. This is because we have a history in this that we can say this.
Can we take this a step further?
Yeah, because then I want to after you do that, I want to ask a question about the about the ed reform people, PC2E in particular, and where they stand after all of this.
So, from my perspective, when I look at the numbers, just strictly looking at the North Ward's candidate, and the fact that this candidate brought in the highest percentage of votes, total vote count 3,566, total percentage of votes 17.91%. This in and of itself shows me that the North Ward could have won the school board election on their own with their own slate.
And don't you know that they know that now?
That's very true.
They know that now. So see, you preempted where I was getting to, which is where is PC2E right now? Because we recognize when we're looking at last year's election, we look at this year's election, PC2E doesn't have the prowess that they say that they have in these elections. And so now, with the North Ward showing their muscle, right, with the Southwest and Central stepping back and saying, you know what, we reject this failed leadership in our community, can people reasonably expect, because I know the first year, PC2E talked about pulling together a slate of parents. That's what they were supposed to do.
Well, PC2E has no...
But I want to ask you, and now the second year, this year, they were supposed to do the same thing. But now, when you look at where their candidate fell, how they got their throats slit and their money taken from them, where do they stand in terms of going back to these parents and saying, hey, you know what? We know we failed you for 2 years straight, but this time we're going to come and we're going to actually engage and empower you, and we're going to run candidates that are more in line with what is that we're trying to do.
PC2E has no more credibility. The parents clearly understand now that they're not buying into the missionary, program that they have that they brought into before. So let's get back to can you go back to those what your analysis is on these other numbers, because you were going somewhere with that.
And we're going to ask to call it hold.
And now when we look at last year, Kim Gaddy, who was the candidate for who was the reform candidate on the unity slate, she led the charge in terms of overall votes. And last year, I think it's important to understand the dynamic of that and who was a part of it. So last year, there was also a large amount of support that came from the Central Ward, primarily from Councilwoman Gail Cheneyfield Jenkins, which we have to obviously give credit there, because that helped support that movement that was coming out of the education reform space, which helped them solidify that top spot and ensure that their candidate was the top vote getter. Remove that support that came from the Central and the West Wards, right? Because there's some correlation to that as well. Now your candidate ends up in the number 3 spot. So when you start to shuffle these alliances around, you start to see that reform group, in my opinion, has been somewhat marginalized in this election. It showed that by shuffling the alliances, by putting different people at the table, you're trying to take away the strength, and now the question is being asked by other individuals right now, as they're breaking this thing down, is do we need to continue on with any partnerships or alliances with these organizations going forward? And to be honest with you, looking at the numbers, and the numbers don't lie, men and women lie, the numbers don't lie. Looking at the numbers, I would have to say that right now the ball is definitely in the court of the councilman from the North Ward and that North Ward apparatus or organization.
Winning, huh?
He's winning. He's winning big time. And the thing about it, I'll go back to the consistency. It's a few things that we know. If you go back and you look at data from past school board elections, anytime that the North Ward is involved in a school board election, you see higher voter turnout. Even though we still will consider it to be low because of the entire universe of registered voters in the city of Newark, again, for this election is lower than last year, but we have a total of 19,909 votes that were cast in this election. But if you go back to years where you did not have a presence from the North for it, you will see that those numbers are even lower. So again, not only do they bring out additional voters and help increase the voter turnout, but they're able to consistently guarantee that whatever candidate they are supporting ends up in the number 1, number 2, sometimes 3, but primarily the 1 and 2 slots when it comes down to total vote counts and tallies.
One of the things that I found interesting, I was looking at 2015, 16, and 7 in yesterday's election. 2015, there were a total of 27,000 votes cast. And last year was 19,000, right? And this year, 19,000. So we've kind of leveled off. What do you believe led to such a dramatic drop of almost, 8,000 votes being cast?
Well, I think it's distrust. I think it's an enormous amount of apathy out there. I think people are angry. People are not happy with what they're seeing. And people definitely are confused about the issue, what the impact of education is going to that's having on their local economy, having on their children, having on their taxes. There seems to be no disconnect because the people that are talking to them, they're only talking about promoting their own special interests, not what's happening with their children. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the problem. And it's very deep. It's very deep, though. You know, if you really close your eyes and take a deep breath and you really go to a diner and you talk to somebody, I was told that by elected officials. I said, you want to really know something, go to a diner and talk to some people. So if you talk to people and you really listen to them, they're like, you know what, we're sick of you. We want all of you out. You know, I mean, for a mayor to be leading a city of 285,000 people and then support a ticket and only get 4,000 people out, but then the bulk of the votes come from one part of the town, that says a lot.
Yeah. So let's take this caller and see what the caller has to say. Hello, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. This is Farrakhan Sawab. I just want to say again, thank you for the great job you guys have been doing with keeping everybody up on this election. But I gotta say this morning, and don't kill me on this one, but you guys are killing us with, I don't want to say too much information, but it's confusing. I'm just telling you right now, you gentlemen are talking over the average.
Okay, all right.
You're talking over the average person's understanding of this political thing and this scoreboard thing. And that right there, it will push people away because they won't know what to do.
Why don't you ask us some questions that are simplified? Because that's possible. You are right. You know, because we're insiders, right? We've been around for a long time. Ask us a question or two so we can best explain it. Because I really appreciate you saying it. That's very honest. I like that. So can you just ask us a couple of questions and maybe that'll lead us to drilling down on it a little bit more?
Okay. The number one question is, I think anybody would want is, well, why not these slates that you guys have? You're speaking in terms of the groups and the teams. Well, what are the motives of those groups and teams that we should know? Because I don't think people understand that. I don't think people understand the reason not to vote for the unity slate or not to vote for these two group of people over here. Like, we don't understand why they're partnering up. You understand? And because people don't understand why they're partnering, they don't know what's in their interest or not in their interest. And I think that's being missed. And like Kevin, you said a minute ago that people were angry. I would disagree with you a little bit. I think people are confused. First off, there was way too many people, like the brother said, running. It was just like 100 people on that list. I mean, it was so many people that in itself was overbearing, because now you're talking about picking a side or picking this group or that group over another group, and that made it even more, but not understanding what the real motive of the group was.
Well, let's unpack what you're saying. Let's unpack it.
Well, let's start with let's start with the question: what was the interests, right? What interests were at stake there?
Well, I thought this week we had kind of laid that out, so I really appreciate him, though. So let's talk about the special interests. So the special interests were the CMOs that wanted to keep control over the parents, and those parents actually pushed away from them. A large portion of them pushed away from them and did not support the charter school ticket and the mayor's ticket, which was joined together, which was called the unity ticket. Right. So when the election unfolded, what we saw in this election was that the North Ward played a pivotal role in giving support to the unity ticket, right, that pushed it over the edge. But what we saw in all of that was that the South, Central, and West, right, that big pot of voters, that big pot of African American Latino voters didn't come out heavily and vote. So that tells us as professionals that's been around that something is wrong. There's a virus in the system. Something is wrong. Never mind the fact that it impacts your taxes. Never mind that those people might not be qualified. But that the status quo financed an election, right, that displaced, right, leaders that possibly had more capacity to do the job. Was that kind of simple? Was that kind of, because you asked a couple of questions. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I was already clear. But
what I'm just saying, would you think an average person would know what I'm saying?
I think, again, though, there's this small detail of, okay, so what does the North Ward get? You understand? Like you said, North Ward helped push that unity slate over the top. They came out in larger numbers. So to a person in the South Ward, well, why should I vote like the people in the North Ward did, or come out, whether I vote for the same people or different, if what do you get? Like,
leverage.
What is the
you get political. You
get
political leverage is what you get. You get a seat at the table. So the people in the North Ward, all of the resources. So let's go back to Steve Adebato, and you tell me. But Steve Adebato was able to provide resources to folks in the North Ward, right? And he was able to get at tables, and he was able to negotiate state senators being elected. He was able to negotiate assembly folks, freeholders to get elected, and have those people focus on the interests of the people in the North Ward. If we're not coming out and voting in large numbers and representing like that, then we don't have a seat at the table to make those kinds of determinations. So we look up one day and we see that Johnny is on the ticket to be an assembly person. We're wondering, how the hell did Johnny get on that ticket? Well, because somebody else who had greater political leverage was able to muscle in and make sure that Johnny got there, because they could guarantee that the votes were going to come out of their ward to get Johnny on in office. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I'm just saying that from listening to you guys this morning, you guys started in heavy. I know you got a lot built up over this, and it just came off so strong that the small with the little guy needs to hear they weren't here. And I think they heard it in the answers that you guys just gave. But before, it was getting missed. I'm promising you.
Oh man, hey, listen, man, we want to do the best. Hey, listen, we appreciate what you're saying.
We appreciate
Hey,
that.
absolutely, buddy. Yeah, come on.
All right. Well, I got to run into the bank. I'll be back in when I get out of the bank.
Well, thank you very much, brother.
Take care. Peace.
So now, I want to say something about Farrakhan before we move on. You know, the brother was very supportive, and in order for this to be successful, I mean, we could be in here and we could run our mouths, we can give commentary and analysis on everything, but until we have the community involved in it, right, it's really not going to have any legs. And Farrakhan told me, he said, Eric, you know, what you guys were doing was so important. He owns a barbershop.
Oh, he does?
He said he had it playing in his barbershop every
great.
episode,
That's
every
good.
day.
That's fantastic.
He said, and so the dialogue that
Salute
was
to him.
taking place in his barbershop was around the issues that we were talking about. So I would love to know that around breakfast tables or lunch, tables, or people are playing it at dinner or in your salons and stuff. The information that we're providing you guys with is information you need to make informed decisions.
Yeah. So, I wanted to also answer the question when he talks about why people should not have been supporting that slate. The issue for me is that right now things have been very contentious in the city when we talk about traditional public schools and charter schools. There's this us versus them mentality. I can say that there are a lot of parents that are on the ground that are trying to help just kind of get rid of that whole that whole mentality, that struggle that exists in that space. But our leaders have not in my opinion, gotten people around the table from the collective when we talk about this educational system that we have in the city of Newark to really just hash out those issues, right? So if we have a slate of candidates that are, again, the unity slate, and they're supposed to be unified around moving our educational system forward, I would think that one of the primary issues or concerns should be how we can best work together, all schools in the city of Newark, to make sure that we're doing our jobs and providing a quality education to all children. So the fact that wasn't something that we really heard a plan for. You know, I didn't hear an action plan from this group to figure out how we're going to be able to move the ball up the court after this whole election thing is over. Because prior to us going into the election cycle, what we heard, and this was the battle from both sides, right? We have, keep your hands off our schools. We just want great schools for our kids. But then on the other side, we have this constant call for moratoriums, you know, on charter schools in our community, and not realizing the fact that they're here, they exist. We still have our young babies attending these schools, and parents are sending their kids to those schools because they choose to. If we're really talking about unity, we have to have conversations that are centered around the entire educational system,
but what I would like
not
to
a
know,
cluster of schools.
I would like to know, because we have a lot of people listening. I would like to know. Call in 973-457-8000. The election is over. What is it that you hope for? What is it that you expect of these board members as we move into this next year?
Well, listen, 130 registered voters, 4,000 people came out. The bulk of the votes came. How many?
100, you said 130,000.
Yeah, 130,000. 4,000 people came out. 2,500 of those came from the North Ward. South Central and West is sending a clear message to the leadership that they're not pleased. You know, when people don't come out to vote, something's wrong. So, you know, if you have a mayor and council, you have a majority of the council is African American, right? And we can't have a conversation, because it's by design, by the way, to answer your question, because they never wanted to have a bigger tent conversation, because they went in the room, took the $30,000, they went in the room and picked candidates that the community did not pick. They went in the room and went against the parents that they were training to develop to deal with policy issues, and they said, screw the people. So what the people did yesterday was screw us. Now, it's going to have an impact on them, but they said, screw them. I'm not coming out. You know, I'm sick of this, right? You know, the North Ward does well because they have a system that they've used for 25 years. That's their primary system. But for the other parts of the city, not to blow that out and have, you know, 27,000, 15,000 people come out to vote because we're the bigger wards, what does that tell you? Well, that tells you that they're not happy.
Listen, one of our listeners, one of our guests in the thread, put something in here. She said, "Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
I have to." This is coming from Brenda Yvette Brown. I have to disagree with you. I think that City Hall is proud and is strategizing now for the 2018 mayoral / council election.
Okay.
So, and I think that's
okay. Well, I think I understand her point. What she's saying, they're like batting themselves on the chest, saying, "Oh, we get ready for 2018." Never mind about the issue you're talking about. That's what she. I think.
No, but we also have to keep in mind that when you talk about these elections, which are smaller elections in terms of voter turnout, these serve as scrimmages or
exactly
practices.
Right. But if it was a scrimmage, but if there was a scrimmage, it's almost like a scrimmage where you got a lot of penalties, right? You got a lot of interceptions. You got a lot of stuff. That was the scrimmage. You know, you may have won the game, meaning that their candidate got on, but when you look inside and you analyze, it was an ugly win. You know what I mean? And when you look at, what wound up bringing your candidate across the finish line, and it really wasn't you. It was almost like you got the quarterback from the other team that helped you win. Because your quarterback was throwing too many interceptions. Because, that's how Reggie got across the line.
Someone said about a bride. Someone said something about being a bride, a half. I didn't even understand what they were saying to me, but I get her point. And if that is the case, then we really do have a serious problem then, because the South Central and West, the bulk of the votes in the city, right, didn't come out to vote. So if they're pumping themselves on the chest because of that, well, they're delusional. Because I'm surely not. I'm looking at those tabs. I'm looking and saying, oh my God, we got to figure out where the disconnect is. right? And that you can't go out there and make that sound sexy. There's some deep-rooted stuff going on that we need to figure out.
Yeah,
so if that's the case, then, you know, that's a problem.
Let's take this call. Hello, caller?
What's up, guys? Darren Martin here. How you doing?
Good morning. Hey, good morning.
How you doing?
Good. So, to answer your question, Eric, what do I expect? I don't expect much to happen at all in terms of these three people being elected. If you look at their bios, nothing about their bios show that they have any intellect as it pertains to this $1 billion budget that the school system deals with. But I tell you this, I think a clear message needs to be sent to Mayor Baraka and the council people who all prop these three people up, and he doesn't have the support he believes he has, and I'm certainly gonna help to organize to send him a clear message on next year for sure.
Well, it's obvious that something's wrong. I mean, Mr. Martin, it's obvious. I mean, you can't go from last year to this year. The person that they ran last year came in third. The person that they ran this year and really spent money on, they came in fifth, right? They took money from the charter school community. They created this fake unity ticket, didn't have anything to do with education, right? But if it wasn't for our good friends in the North Ward, right, that would have been a disaster. So the base of votes, the big base of votes in Newark is they already sent the message, Mr. Martin. They sent it. They're pissed.
Well, and you're right, Eric, but I'm hoping.
This was Kevin. I'm sorry, it was Kevin.
I mean, Kevin,
that's right.
That people will not take the sellout path and get paid off by this mayor next year, because we have
short-term memories when it comes to people doing bad things to us, and that's my problem.
Yeah. Well, you're right about that, and I'm sorry that we couldn't hear the callers. We want to make sure you got your point across. If you wanted to repeat something, that's fine, because sometimes we don't push the button in a timely fashion. But, Mr. Martin, you're absolutely right. I mean, listen, I'm a lifetime Newarker. You know, I talk to people every day. You know, I walk up and downtown to go to Whole Foods, and I go to ShopRite. And I got to tell you something. I'm afraid for our children today. I'm afraid for them because we have 130 registered voters, and basically it said, you know, we just don't care. We don't care. I mean, they went out having drinks, and I was sitting there trying to look at these numbers last night. I said, oh, my God. I said, Gail, you got to look at this. These people don't care.
Well, that becomes the thing. So for the person who's in the thread that says that they're patting each other on the back and they're strategizing.
I don't think she meant to be funny. I thought she was just giving us observation.
Right. No, I'm not. No, I'm not saying that.
Oh, yeah.
So if that's the observation, my question is, what is the strategy? What does she believe? And I would love her to call in. Maybe she can, you know, offer some insight. What does she believe the strategy is that they have to communicate to all of these people who sat on their hands?
Yep.
Right? Because if you don't have a strategy to do that, you know, then you don't have people listening to you. And again, this political organization that I'm going to call them now, PC2E, nobody trusts them. So they can't walk in the community and command any kind of respect at all. And so what are you left with? I mean, that's really where we are right now. And any insider, and I appreciate Farrakhan calling and saying that, you know, other folks, you know, are not understanding this. But there's some inside baseball that needs to be talked about right now. And that inside baseball is that all these organizations, the money, right? So the money organization, which is PC2E, and all those people who are associated with them, and the Barakas who could not galvanize people in the Southwest and Central Ward. What are their plans over the next year? Right?
No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what their plans are. I want to know with 130 people. I want to know what their plans are. I told everybody on the phone. I told everyone on the phone today. I was like, "Look, guys, we got a lot of work to do, and let's get busy." So, you know, the young kid on the corner, the young kid in the failed school, the young parent that's confused about the education, the taxpayer, taxes are going to go up, you know, the water bills are going to go up, crime is going to change. We got to get them. The whole purpose of this radio show is to inform and empower, right? So we have an opinion. We're giving out commentary. But everybody that is in the inside know, in a simplistic way, what we're saying is true. Because if you go from last year to this year, we had 5,000 and some odd votes, right? This year we got 3,000, maybe 4,000 some odd votes. But then if you look at the South, Central, and West, those votes just disappear.
Right. And I want to be clear about something, because I'm looking at some stuff in my thread.
Commentary. Right? We're giving out commentary.
We're giving out commentary, but we're not in any way disparaging the folks in the North Ward.
We said something great about. First of all, anybody that's saying that is foolish because that's not what we say. Just stop writing in, because if you don't listen to the show, don't give your comments. That really pisses me off. If you listen to the show, you see where we're going. We said, listen, the North Ward consistently have done this. I said, Nebo Ramos deserves a pat on the back for that. He's organized his community. The problem is that the South Central and the West, they no longer believe in their leadership. Right? Very clear. So if you're going to participate, listen.
I see. I like to be clear about stuff, because people will hang up and they're in this thing and say, "Oh,
they're not listening." Right, keep going. Keep going.
But because they benefit from that, right? But there are a group of people who will benefit or try to benefit from creating a divide.
Come on. Wait, let me say something. Are we saying something? Listen, here's the issue for me. I'm sorry, Rashon. I've gone back and I've had young students that I know that watch the show, and I ask them to fact check me. Now, if I don't know something, I say it to you. I say, is it 130? Is it 150? You know what I mean? Is it 100? But we know there's 100 and some odd thousand people in the city of Newark, and 4,000 people came out. We know that there was a total of 4,000 votes, maybe 360, 3,000. We don't know the number yet because it hasn't been really confirmed yet. I haven't seen them yet. But we know that 2,500 came out of the North Ward, and we definitely said they have done a good job in doing that every year. Mm-hmm. We know that there was money distributed, right, to the mayor, right, that was for him, and we know that they were privately running a campaign for Pat Bradford, right? We know that. So, we're not on the air making up stuff as we go, because that then impacts our integrity. Now, you might not agree with it, and if you don't agree with it, proof up. Because I'm not going to open up my mouth and say something that I know it's not true. So, when you come on this show, when you listen to this show, you can draw whatever conclusions you want. But when you start to qualify it as not fake news, then I got another problem with that. Because I'm going to bring my team in here. I'm going to explore how fake it is.
Well,
go ahead, buddy.
The fact of the matter is this. As a collective, we've had an opportunity to kind of break down the responses from candidates, right? We've taken a deep dive over a number of days to discuss the issues, the platform, to also get feedback from the community, from voters. At the end of the day, we want whomever it is that's serving on the Newark Board of Education to do the best job. We want to see these people win. Why? Because if they lose, we lose. They lose, our children lose, right? But we have to keep in mind that there are a number of other factors that are at play. And these are real conversations that we need to have with our community, right? So please, we don't want any of our listeners to walk away from this show saying that these gentlemen are just up here bashing individuals, because that's not what we're doing.
We're not bashing them, but we're keeping them honest.
We are critiquing.
Oh, come on, all right,
we're critiquing.
That's personal. When they say bashing, that's personal.
Yeah. And
but
listen,
you can't.
There's nothing personal about what we're doing. This is business.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
It's business.
All right. And if you can't handle it, you shouldn't be in this business. You shouldn't be elected. You can't go in front of people and say one thing and go do another thing, and then try to disqualify the truth. Right? To give the people the impression you're doing the right thing and you're not. Because if you was South Central and West, we would see something different. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I can say is I've been around long enough to be able to read those tea leaves. So, you're right. It's not personal, it's business. So just like they participated in a business activity, right, that took the power away from the people.
If I can interject to kind of like tie into what Farrakhan was talking about earlier, just to kind of keep things somewhat in layman's terms, right? But let me just use this analogy, people. Of course, we want the people who won, even though we didn't think they were the best candidates. Of course, we want them to be able to do the job in the proper way, as best as possible. Well, not just as best as possible. We need them to be the best. Period. But our issue is this: is that we're talking about somebody. Large in part, some of these elected folks are not qualified for the job. It's almost like, okay, we accept a person to do a surgery on you who's never went to medical school, et cetera, so on. We want them to be successful, in the darn surgery room, but are they going to be successful? You know, and that's the issue that we have. We are concerned for the results that may happen for our children based on the lack of experience.
I don't think they're going to do a good job. I want to cut through all of that.
Well,
I don't.
no. Well, that's the point.
Let him finish.
But that's the point. But that's the point I'm saying is that we know we don't expect them to do a good job based on the fact that they don't have the qualifications.
Well,
we're not expecting that. And the sad part about it, just like was brought up, the numbers show a large amount of apathy, and it also shows. I mean, some people are saying people chose not to come out to vote. I've never understood that type of politics. I never understood how not doing something for yourself assists you. I never understood that politics. Someone needs to explain that to me. How choosing not to come out to vote for a person, in this particular case, who's going to be presiding over our children, how that is works in our favor.
Well, I can answer that a little, and this is only my opinion, because they're not vested. They're not vested. They're not vested in the process. They don't feel connected. So if you don't feel connected and invested, you don't participate. But we have so many intelligent people in the city of Newark. We have so many smart people, so many enterprising people, so many courageous people. And it is going to be our job for the next several years to empower them by giving them the opportunity to have a discussion back and forth with us. So that's our gift, and their gift to us is to listen and give us the best of themselves to help us to be better so we can help them to be better, so we won't have those kind of results anymore. So right now, we can clearly say that the people that were elected was elected by 4,000, 3,000 people out of 130,000 people. So that's not a mandate. That's a problem. We clearly can say there's 3 wards that said enough of you. That's a problem. We clearly can say that the Norfolk has done a great job in massaging and organizing their base, because that's what they have done. That's been their business model, right? So if you have 8 or 7 African Americans on the council, we don't have to agree, right? But for the mere fact that we were not in the room together to pick people that are prepared says a lot about the African American leadership. Now that's what we really are driving at. The African American leadership in Newark is diseased, because there is no way that we should be having this conversation right now. But just because you might feel a little afraid of my passion or my intellect or how I understand the process, you should have still opened up the process. You shouldn't have gone in that room to get us the negative returns that we have now. So I hold you responsible for that.
And what we're not saying,
come on now,
we're not upset the fact that the people that we
we're not upset.
Preferred
we're not
to win
upset. Come on.
Did not win. The problem is, politics is okay with wanting to choose one person or another, but both persons that we at least bring to the table should be qualified. And our issue is that when one side brings an unqualified person to the table, and the other side is bringing qualified people to the table, and the unqualified person wins, then the constituents lose.
Well,
in this case, our children lose because we have unqualified people standing in their place.
But beyond that, go ahead. I'm sorry.
One question that needs to be asked during this election. There was a woman by the name of Deborah Terrell, who's a former interim superintendent,
doctor,
former principal, took Harriet Tubman and led that school to be recognized as a blue ribbon school throughout the nation. This woman clearly has experience. She understands the dynamics of working between the board and the superintendent. She definitely understands implementation of best practices to move schools forward, which we desperately need in Newark.
Right.
Particularly in our west and south wards of our community. Why wasn't that woman selected by the community to serve on our board? Because she clearly has the experience, which she's displayed. She's communicated that Now, you don't have to answer the question for me. I'll answer it. The reason she didn't get elected because she wasn't a part of that establishment or that structure. And then we also talk about why individuals who are qualified don't get an opportunity and don't get a fair shake. It's because their purse strings are not as large as these other organizations that are coming into the community that want to influence the outcome of elections for the Newark Board of Education.
Now, I'm going to say that she wasn't a part of the structure because she wasn't going to go along to get along, right? And so they didn't want her to be a part of the structure.
But regardless of the fact,
but I'm going to say
she
the reason
wasn't a
she
part of
didn't
the
win.
structure.
But I'm going to say the reason she didn't win had less to do with them and what they didn't want to do with her, meaning the political people, and more to do with the electorate in our community, that they don't have the information. They're not informed. That's what it had to do with, because if they were informed, look, they voted against their interests.
But,
what we could do this year,
the fact that they voted against their interests showed that they were not informed.
Well, you know what? I don't know if I'm comfortable with using they're not informed as an excuse. If you have a child,
not an excuse.
If you have a child that's going to a failed school, yeah, I don't accept it. I have to be very careful because I can get really off.
But you have to know that the election is happening.
But, I mean,
a lot of people didn't even know that.
But here's the issue. Let me just say something about Phil Selinger. 1,177 votes. Let's talk about Denise Cole, 1,047. Who's the other one that has 1,000? Okay, so just Denise Cole and Phil Selinger, right? Now they represent a constituent, right? They represent a group of people, right, that heard their message, right? I'm encouraged by that. So I think this year what we should do is start the cycle early.
Absolutely.
Not having just little forums that make me look good to talk about the education. Right. Let's start having smaller discussions in our community about what we think is important with regards to education, because a taxpayer has to be pissed. A taxpayer and a business owner has to be pissed. Right? Young people coming in the city, they're just going to rent here. We 80% renters now, so they're just going to rent here and they're not going to buy. So we have 30,000 homeowners in the city of Newark, and that's pretty low compared to where we were. So young people are not going to come here and send their kids to school here in the failed system, but they're really not going to come here because they're going to say, what kind of people live in that town? That they will put those unprepared people, nice people, but unprepared people, to protect their pocketbook at the Board of Education, but to also bring value to their kids. So, now we get into the simple part of this discussion. So there's an economic impact, there's a human impact, there's a leadership impact, and that's some stuff that we need to keep talking about.
And before we get into that, let's take this caller. We got a couple of minutes, caller, before we go to our 11 o'clock break.
Good morning.
Good morning, fellas. How you doing?
Doing well.
This is Deputy Mayor Muhammad.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
Good morning.
You got 2 minutes before we go to our break.
So I don't want to get into debates about who's qualified alliances and that. I don't want to get into that. It's just silliness to me, and I understand some reasons why spending is going on up here. But listen, I do want you to get the numbers correct because we got some so-called veterans up there that should know how to count the numbers. So the deal is, it wasn't 4,000 turnout; it was a little over 7,000.
No, stop. No, it's a little over 6,000. It's a little over 6,000.
Missing the point.
That number. Let me tell you how to get the number. Please divide first of all the number that
19,909 total votes divided by 3.
Thank you, and add the undercount.
Yeah.
And then you add the undercount.
And the undercount of 2,570.
The undercount was 542.
Okay.
So once you add that, you'll see it was a little over 7,000 votes. So all I'm saying is get the numbers right, fellas. We're going from 4,000 to 3,000. I sent a text to you, Eric, to try to clear the number up. So you had a little over 7,000 people that voted in the total election. Now, I don't know the breakdown of the wards
compared to last year.
I don't want to get into that. So
then why are you on the phone then? Wait a minute, why are you on the phone? Explain his point.
Stop, let him go ahead.
Go ahead. Come on, man.
This is what y'all do. When y'all want to get corrected, y'all don't want nobody to
we listening to you.
You got 30 seconds. Please go ahead.
Fellas, all I'm asking you to do is just clear the number up. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Can you clear the number quickly for him, please? Give out the right information, please.
Divide the number by 3.
Got it.
Add the undercount.
Okay.
Appreciate that, brother.
So we're divided by 3. We'll get them the undercount.
Can you help me do that?
Right. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the break. We're going to come back. We're going to give an accurate number. We're going to divide the number by 3. We're going to add the undercount.
But
no. Right? Listen,
okay, because I want to talk about this.
We'll be right back after this break, guys.
I can't take that.
You gotta.
Can I be honest with this guy here, man?
No, listen to me. No, honestly, when you talk, you were saying this person won by that, but you gotta clarify. You talking about one? You talking about one candidate? You weren't talking about the whole voter.
But that's my point. He's not listening to the show. I keep trying to tell you that I can't stand a person that's not listening to the show.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried about it. That's why I want to go back to it. Listen to the show.
Serious.
I can't listen.
Blast Radio 94.3
New Jersey. I can't stand people that get on.
Well, there was a miscommunication.
Tourist bag Jersey has ever seen. Lux Entertainment brings to you New York meets New Jersey. Tourist State of Mind, Black and Gold Affair. The official birthday bash for Little Rihanna, DJ Tip, Hot Rod the God, and out of New York, DJ Rich Rated R. Friday, May 12, 2017, 48 Brentford Place, Newark, New Jersey. Music powered by DJ Bates, DJ Maul, DJ Chronic, DJ Rich, DJ Dark Cat, and straight from New York City, DJ
Right, because I'm playing it through here like I am right now. But they should be able to, something's going on with your microphone into your thing. I don't know what it is, but
again, that's
talk into your microphone and ask them if they can hear you just talking into your microphone.
Tourist State of Mind, Black and Gold Affair. Be there.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's killing you, seeing that soft glow just inches away. In case someone wants to tell you something, or maybe ask you something. Ah, come on, answer
We got one more before we go. Come back.
Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner thoughts. Don't text and drive. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Council and your friends here at Splash Radio.
Yo, the best station on the block.
No. He was talking about the difference in the turnout.
Splash Radio.
Well, I don't know, so Mr. G represent for 94.3 FM Splash Radio.
You're listening to the Eric Dawson Radio Show on 94.3 FM.
All right, got it.
All right. Hey, this is Eric Dawson. This is the Eric Dawson Radio Show, 94.3 FM. Call number 973-457-8000. Again, it's 973-457-8000. I thank you guys for hanging on during the break. Would ask if you haven't shared this episode, this broadcast, please do so now. If you need to listen through your phone, you can listen 213-493-0287. Once again, we're doing a post-election analysis, and I'm here with Kevin Jenkins, former chairman, Rashon Hasan, and Ian Burrowes. We ended the last segment of the show with Deputy Mayor Rahman Muhammad, who asked us to provide some clarity in terms of the voting numbers.
Can I get some clarity quickly? And I apologize to Rahman, but he's just so annoying. He's annoying. When I was saying, if you heard it, if you were listening to the show, what did I say, young man?
You actually talked about the fact that the North Ward, candidate was able to get in with X amount of votes. And, let's clarify if there was any misunderstanding for any of the listeners out there who thought that there was only a total of 4,000 voters. We spent over 12 hours discussing voter turnout over the last few weeks. As we analyzed the numbers from last year, I was very clear the last time I communicated that to our audience, our listeners, advising that there were 27,000 total votes that were cast last year. And this doesn't include the undervotes, right? But we show the vote total at 27,000 last year, and that each voter has the ability to vote for up to 3 candidates. So if you take that 27,000 and divide that by 3, assuming that every voter exercised their right to vote for 3 people, that would take us down to having a total number of 9,000 voters who came out in last year's election. So please, Brother Rahman, or anyone else who's listening, we don't want you guys to get that confused or walk away from this space or this show thinking that the gentlemen here in this room do not have the capacity or understanding to break down these numbers, because we've been doing it since last week. So we want to go ahead and break these numbers down further for our listeners, and we want to make sure that we're not talking over anyone's heads, as we were told earlier from one of our listeners. If you go to Essex County Clerks, that's the website is essexclerk.com, and you go under the banner that says County Services, you will have the ability to look up election results, and what you will find.
I'll post it in the thread right now.
Okay, and what you will find is a total vote count of 19,909 votes, and if you divide that by 3, assuming that every voter voted for 3 candidates, that shows us that we had 6,637 residents who came out and actually voted in the election, which also shows that we still had a huge drop-off from last year's election to the election that occurred yesterday. Because when we compare those numbers, we were talking about a total vote count that was approaching almost 30,000 votes, and now you're cutting that down by almost 10,000. If you look at it from that perspective. So, what I would like to hear when we have callers come in here, let's talk about some of the issues. Why are we still having such a low voter turnout? If we got this thing rocking and rolling last year and we were able to get the voter turnout to up to 27,000 votes, roughly 9,000 voters, why did we see such a huge decline this year? And when you call in, I think it's also important for us to talk about the policies and what we need to do as we move forward. You know, as I stated before, it is very difficult for individuals, even if they are qualified, if they are not a part of, an organization or machines as individual or individuals call them, machines. It is very difficult or challenging for individuals to go out here and have an opportunity to go out here and compete when they don't have the same kind of structure that are supporting them. I don't care how qualified you are, and that is a reality that individuals face when they mean well and they want to go out here, they want to do go out here and do good work. And again, if to I'll respond to Rockman's comment now. If you still want to go in and add the undercount for votes was 2,570. So we could do the math and break down the undercount votes as well, and you can add that in. If you do the math, 2,570, you're going to divide that by 3 as well. So with that undercount, that's going to put you a little bit over 800. I would say probably 836 additional voters. So again, that only puts us
about 2,000. About a difference of about 2,000, basically from
last year to this year.
From like last year to this year, we're talking about from 9,000 to approximately 7,000. So we're talking about a 2,000 voter reduction of people that actually turned out. So it's not 3,000. It's more. It's about 2,000. And we're just, as we, just as we did in school, we are like rounding up. So we're just, giving you the roundup number.
Here's a question that was asked to you, Kevin.
Yeah.
From Brenda, one of our Facebook listeners. It says, Kevin, do you think that the NPS Board of Education, along with the leadership of the West Ward, her ward in particular, bear any responsibility? They didn't do any kind of robocall or anything to alert the people that there was an election.
You're not to blame. No, I don't think the people in the West Ward are to blame. There's so many different things going on, so many different factors. And like I said earlier, the African American leadership on the council and the leadership that's in this city. And I think one of the young ladies was speaking at the council.
Was there a citywide robocall that was done by?
There were different robocalls. There were different
by campaigns.
Yeah,
but I'm saying, did in the effort to, because we're talking about the fact that the West, the Central, and the South Ward?
To answer the question, yes, there were robocalls. Yes, they were calls made directly into the homes, and there were robocalls. But she said, "Are they to blame?" No, I don't believe it. We're all to blame. I think the African American leadership on the council, the African American leadership that represents the business community, or the people that represent the business community, there was no broad discussion about who should be representing us on that school board. Yeah. So that's a big deal, and that's something that, I think there was a young lady at this council meeting, Gail was telling me a couple of days ago, that mentioned that, where how we used to go in a room and decide who those people were going to be. They were not siloed off, as you would say, Rashon. And we would come up with the best talent to represent us at the school board, and that's not been happening because, of course, special interests don't want that to happen because they can't control those individuals.
Are we able to? I don't know. Hopefully, if those who also ran,
but it's not their fault.
Hopefully, if some of the candidates like Love and Montague and others who also ran, if they're available to call in, I would like to hear from, because I remember we got a call yesterday, and actually I ran into her at the bank after the fact. I believe it was Love's wife that called us in regarding the fact that there were people going into the poll sites and directing people who to vote for and all that, going against the 100 feet away from the polling site rule that's in place and all that. If any of them are out there listening in, our number is 973-457-8000, because I'd like to hear from them.
It's funny
about that.
J-Rock says trust issues.
Trust issues, right?
Dude, I mean that's exactly all.
Well, no, I listen. It wasn't Charles Love's wife. It was Natasha Levant. It wasn't her, so I wanted to qualify that.
That's okay.
Yeah. So but I don't. All of that.
She was with him because I ran into her at the bank.
So okay. Hold on. Here's another call.
Hello, caller.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. State your name.
Alicia Jones.
Hi, Miss Jones. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You have a question or a statement, comment?
He talked about people going into the voting booth with the voters. I was at the West Ward at the fire station.
I'm going to ask you to turn your radio down, or there's some background noise. If you just turn it down. Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So I was one of the challengers up at the West Ward at the fire station, and that occurred the whole day.
What exactly occurred?
The judges was going into the booth with the voters. I have pictures that I took and sent out to Natasha and Nikki pertaining to that topic that you guys are discussing right now.
Wow.
So and I would like to, and this is why I brought it up, because at the end of the day,
I don't want to cut you off.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One of the candidates played that voting station the whole entire day.
Wow.
The entire day, from morning. I was there from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night.
How do you feel about that? This is Kevin Jenkins. How do you feel about that?
I was pissed, Kevin. I was pissed, and I have no patience for nonsense, and I was really pissed.
Do you live in Newark?
Yes, I do. I'm a property owner in Newark.
You're a property owner in Newark?
Yes, I am.
And you live in the West Ward?
Yes, I do.
And they disrespected you like that?
Absolutely.
And can I ask you another question?
Yes.
Since you're giving us this information. And if you feel comfortable, you seem to be very courageous because you're on the air. Who do you think those people were representing?
They was representing the unity slate because one of the candidates was up there the whole entire day.
So you mean to tell me a candidate was at the polling booth acting as a challenger? And going into the booth?
I don't know if she was acting as no, she wasn't acting as a challenger. She was up there, but the judge that was at that polling site went into the booth with a lot of voters the entire day.
So we had. Wow. So they were there the whole entire. Do you have pictures of that?
Yes, I do.
Because that just goes right into what we were talking about yesterday. This gang mentality,
this culture
that's being created in our city, and that is why you see those results the way you see them now.
And I would like to see.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
And I would like, and thank you for calling in. I mean, well, I don't know if you want to stay on, but
stay on for a second.
The thing is. And I'm glad I remembered that we had this conversation yesterday, and I'm happy that we had this brought up, because anybody that has any evidence of any illegal activity connecting to this election whereas the results of the election ended up as they were. I would like to see those things presented, because I would like to see, if this was done illegally, I would like to see a revote. I would like to see a whole thing done all over again.
And as a property owner and as a voter in Newark, New Jersey, in Essex County, period, I feel as though it should be challenged, because it was a lot of nonsense going on up there yesterday. I mean, a lot. And that polling site is known for nonsense.
Wow.
Me personally, I felt everybody that was at that polling site worked for the unity slate.
Wow.
That's my feeling. That's what I got out of it. That's how I felt from I got there from in the morning till leaving at nighttime. Even the sheriff officers was called like around 6:30. They came up there, and they had to tell the workers they was too close to the booth. They was pulling the curtains back, talking to the voters while the voters were in the booth. I have pictures of all of that.
And Nelson Mandela died for that.
And this wasn't the only place. I mean, this is the only caller, but I was getting text messages and I was getting inboxes.
I was getting calls about
that all
you
day
were too?
yesterday.
I was getting calls. I was getting calls about that yesterday.
Well, caller, thank you so much. Appreciate your call.
Which was interesting, and thank you for calling. Which was interesting because I had you know, like I said, I went to City National Bank, a black-owned bank, and I went over there, and I was transacting some business there, and somebody recognized me from the show, and then they would say, "Hey, you know, I just left so and so and such, and I have these pictures," and her phone was dying on her. She says, "I'm going to get my phone charged, and I'm going to forward these things to the proper authorities." And I'm going to say this to everybody: if you have any evidence of this, of any type of impropriety regarding this, please. Because at the end of the day, I don't care who wins or loses as long as it was done properly in the proper manner. And if it wasn't done in a proper manner, I want to call people to the carpet and let's get it.
I care who wins or loses, but I still want it to be done in a proper.
Okay, I mean, but you know, I'm saying.
I just want to clarify that. I care about who wins or loses.
Okay, but check this out. Oh, what? All right. Well, let me clarify that. In a fair fight, if you win, you're not going to hear me whine about nothing in a fair fight. My issue is that the unqualified people with a lot of support did a lot of things incorrectly, illegally, as you know, from what we're hearing, and as a result, they won, and in the end, our children lost, and we need to do something about that. Do not just take this and let this go away with time. Right. Please continue the fight on this. If those things happen, bring it to the table.
So there are a couple things. So another person in the thread said that the people who were actually taking the cartridges to the county, some of those folks were on the city payroll, right? So I mean, I just want you to understand, guys. You know, there is a culture, and we talked about this weeks ago. There's a culture. Wow. And you have to make a decision whether or not that's what you want representing the city of Newark.
And in my thread, Portia says it's always been like that. She said a lot of people are saying it's always been like that this type of behavior has happened. And call in, folks.
But see, this is why it's important for us to have this conversation and this dialogue. I'll go back to one of our earlier conversations, and I'll also, you know, reference the comments that were made by former Councilman Ron Rice Jr. It's important for us to understand what has happened in the past that has caused the state to come in and take over the Newark Public School District to ensure that we don't go out and do the same things that were done in the past. And one of the things that was highlighted in the comprehensive compliance investigation that the state conducted on the Newark Public School District, there were employees who worked down in Newark Public Schools and other individuals who were utilizing their positions to go out here and influence the elections, having individuals take actions that were illegal on election day, doing things that were illegal at the polling site. So again, with 22 years later,
wow,
right, on the cusp of local control, or let me say local authority. I think we should scratch that whole local control thing, because when we start talking about control, that just brings light to the fact that there's a battle, right? Because when you say control, well, who controls it? What do they control? But we really should be talking about local authority. And at this point, we're hearing reports from community members that the same type of behavior occurred, and we're right around the corner from receiving local authority here in the city of Newark for our Board of Education. Wow. So it's important for us to understand that these things have happened in the past. We have to be firm. We have to draw a line in the sand and do whatever we can to make sure that these kind of things don't happen, because we have to protect our Newark Public School District.
Right.
Hello, caller. You're
yes,
on the line?
I'm back. This is Alicia Jones again, calling back.
Yes, ma'am.
I got to tell you guys, and the one of the candidates, Felicia Johnson, took the judge from that polling site to another polling site to vote. How do we know what was transpired within that ride from one polling site to another polling site?
Well, what I can say is well, I don't know that there's, if you're transporting a voter to a voting site to vote, I'm not sure that there's an issue there. There are issues in terms of, I got a picture, and I'm showing it to Kevin right now on my laptop, where somebody
and those don't look like.
Well, there are two people.
But those don't look like kid feet either. They're look like adult feet in that booth.
So there's a picture that was sent to me of two people inside a booth.
And one was the judge, and one was a voter. Yeah, I took that picture.
Well, that just, I hate to say that proves our point. I'm not really proud of that, and I think one of the callers said this has been going on all the time, but we're supposed to be better. Yeah, this is what we're promoting to people, that we're better. And to see that is very disappointing. And it does go on regularly. I mean, people that cheat at that level, it says a lot about them, and it's not necessary. But, there's been a lot of cheating going on. Our kids have been cheated. The status quo cheated us just yesterday. So it's a continuation, and it happens at so many different levels. But, that's sad. I'm sorry to see that.
So I want to say shout out to Maciel Valentin, who's a former candidate for the Newark Board of Education, and she put something in the thread. She says, in order to challenge any shenanigans, candidates need to be able to place their own well-trained challengers at every polling site. So I wanted to highlight that because this is a teachable moment also for individuals who want to come out and want to run for elected office. It's important that you have people in place to challenge those kind of things as well, because if you don't, you will find that some of these things will happen, and you will just be out of luck at the end of the day if you are not properly positioned and you don't have the right people in those spaces representing you as a candidate. Yeah, we see this kind of stuff happen time and time again when it comes down to the election day operations, and individuals don't necessarily have support. So for any future candidates that are listening, this is a teachable moment for you, so that you need to also make sure, just as it's important to have individuals that are going to go out and knock on doors for you, it's extremely important to make sure that you have challenges at your polling sites on election day as well.
Well, I think social media is great. I mean, to be able to take those pictures and put them up quickly and get people to respond to them. I got to tell you, I love the fact that those phones are so powerful.
Right, but
and that's something that we should be training people in the future, how to use those phones.
What's in your hand?
But you have to be right. But you also have to be there to take the picture, and to Rashon's
point.
Natasha
being there, right?
Right, but to Rashon's point, see, a lot of people, and just like I know Sheila Montague and a few others who were out there running, who didn't have the machine by them, right? We'll just call it the machine, right, in quotes. Who didn't have the machine, and they didn't have the the number of volunteers who can take off during those voting hours to be at those sites all day long to monitor. So unfortunately, a lot of the shenanigans probably went on unnoticed. But we did get, you received calls, I received calls and texts and all that about these shenanigans going on. Again, I don't care as long as it was done properly. If it's done, in this manner, which it appears to have been done incorrectly, we need to call them
illegally. Not incorrectly. I mean, see, we got to use
words matter. Words matter. Mm-hmm. Let me correct myself. It appears that this election was done illegally, and I see Lawrence Ham just. A community activist just joined in on the thread, and I hope he can call in if he has anything to add to it. We have to challenge anything that's wrong, people. And just as the quote I mentioned yesterday, evil thrives in these type of situations. Evil thrives when good people stay silent. And we cannot stay silent. We cannot stay quiet. We cannot be inactive. We have to be active and get out there and do what we got to do. Put the boots in the ground.
So what I want to do, if we can, guys, in this last half an hour, talk about solutions for people.
Yeah, let's
right?
talk about
because
policy.
This is what it's about.
Right, because we've now gone through the election, and now, like you said, Rashon, today starts day one for people who are planning for this time next year. There's going to be, we know, there's going to be a school board election in April of 2018. Right.
So my question for anyone who's thinking about serving on the Newark Board of Education, my question to the newly elected board members, what are your plans to help us re-engineer the Newark Public Schools District? We spent a lot of time talking about that here on the show. We know that there are some fiscal challenges there at Newark Public Schools. We heard a lot of great ideas, some reoccurring themes, right? Adding additional after-school programs, et cetera, et cetera. But we've even taken an opportunity to kind of look at the budget, and we've seen some of the school-based budgets that show that there's actually going to be a decrease in spending or funding for after-school programs, particularly at some of the community schools, right?
1%.
So again, how are we going to be able to do all of those things that these individuals say they want to do when we know that we're facing these fiscal challenges here in the Newark Public Schools District? And as I said yesterday, we can't continue to just sit with our hands out saying that we can't fix anything unless the state gives us more money. I think that's a cop-out.
Right.
I think we have to be innovative. I believe we have to step outside of the box with our thinking in terms of how we can generate additional revenue to support the programming that we need in our schools. We not only need to figure out how we're not so top-heavy, we need to be lean in the middle. We need to be lean down bottom. We need to be lean up top.
Well, you're not on the school board, so let's forget that. That's not going to happen. Let me tell you, talked about solutions. What I'm going to do this year is I'm going to bring a group of people together like I do all the time on issues that I'm concerned about. And I'm going to raise money to develop a real community advocacy organization that's talking about those kinds of solutions, right? So I'm going to raise money, just like I raised money for Charles Love, just like I raised money for Deborah. I've raised money for a lot of other candidates, nationally, regionally, and locally. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is because that's what I do best. So I'm going to organize a group of people to come sit at the table to work out an advocacy strategy so we can be prepared for not just the election, but to start having a different kind of conversation in our community. I'm not going to march them there. I ain't going to rally them there. Okay. I'm going to organize and have conversations with them and put a budget together like we always do and come up with that number and do 4 or 5 things this year, right? That's going to keep this debate, right, in the marketplace of education. So to have an education renaissance, to re-engineer our schools, I'm going to ask Deborah Terrell. I'm going to ask Rashon Hasan. I'm going to ask Charles Love. I'm going to ask all of those concerned parents. I'm going to go ask small business people that I know. And I'm going to say the only way forward for our city is to put money on the table and organize so we can fight against this. Because this is a fight. This is a fight for our kids' souls and our community. And this status quo leadership that we keep allowing to sell this poverty propaganda to us, I hope that this advocacy organization can look at that swath of charter, private, public, homeschool, black men, black women, Latino women, and say, you know what? We're not going to have this discussion next year because we're going to pick people that have our best interests. And I think every taxpayer should want to see that. Not a couple of community meetings to talk about, well, this is what we're going to get local control. What do you say, local what?
Local authority.
Local authority. That's not a good tool.
Governance.
You know what I'd like to do?
Local governance.
I'd like to be able to leverage what we've done and what we're planning to do with the show to be able to provide a platform for folks who are interested in being involved with the Board of Education, and who may in fact have an interest in running for the Board of Education, and bring them here. They can go other places too, but bring them here so that we can vet them in front of this listening audience, so they get an opportunity to know them, so there's no backroom conversations going on. So that is why when we talk about transparency, we talk about the need for integrity and honesty, right? Sit them right here and have them talk right to the camera about why, what it is that they love about, the schools, what it is that they believe that they can fix with the schools, how they believe that their past experience best qualifies them to do that. Have them do that. And if we believe collectively, whether through us and through the audience, that these are folks that we should be pushing, whether as candidates or as people who are just a part of the process. Yep. Right? Because everybody shouldn't be a candidate. Some people should, fall back and be a supporter of a candidate. I agree with that. When we look and say, well, okay, this is where we think that we can best use you, right? What do they say? Play to your strengths, right? No. So then we play to their strengths. I think that we could do some amazing things here. We don't have to ask permission. I think that what we've been doing is asking for permission from a lot of these elected officials, waiting for the Aníbal Ramoses or the Ras Barakas or the rest of those guys downtown to figure out how they're going to meet in some room and make a decision. And then we rail against the decision ultimately that they made. I'm saying don't ask permission. Take the bull by the horn and we go straight to the people.
Yeah. So, I think that's well said, Eric. And, we've talked about this already. I think there's a place for everybody. I think one thing we also have to realize is, what's our lane? And we have to have those honest conversations with our friends, with our loved ones, to advise them when they're stepping out. Yeah. If a person's not ready, we need to be able to have that honest conversation and say, listen, I think you bring some good things to the table, but you're not ready right now. But it doesn't mean that we discard those individuals and we cast them aside. What that means is we also have to find opportunities for those individuals who mean well,
absolutely,
who want to do well. We have to find opportunities for those individuals to be involved and to be engaged in the process.
And can we all be committed to try to reach out to these millennials too? Right. I want to try to figure out a strategy, Kev, Rashon, and Ian, to reach out to these millennials. I think they have to be on the front line of this battle.
Well,
yeah, that's true.
Absolutely, but well, I'll let you get to this caller before I get to my point.
All right, go ahead. Caller.
Hello, fellas. This is Farrakhan again.
Hey, Farrakhan. Are we doing a better job now, Farrakhan?
Oh, yes, you are.
Okay, I'm just not because
in your last statement, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
You talked about organizing for next year, but what are we going to do to hold this now, what is going to be current advisory board, accountable for their actions as they do them now?
Great question.
We cannot wait a year. Okay, what we need to be doing is we have to say every time the advisory board makes a decision or votes on something, that is put out there, and that their record is in the face of everybody, so that they know they're being watched. So make your decisions wisely.
Right. So I'd like to answer that question. I'd like to propose something. I don't know that this is the answer, but I'd like to propose something. I think that they're not watched right now, Farrakhan. And one of the things that I proposed before was getting together a group of people, because I know schedules change, but we know when the board meetings are going to be, right? And if we can get a committed group of people that are willing, not all of them, but one pick a day and go, and we actually Facebook Live. I would love to Facebook Live broadcast the board meetings, right? And then bring this same collective of people together to be able to watch it, and then have these guys next to me, and then we do exactly what we did. We unpack it for people in the way that you suggested, Farrakhan, that we don't speak over people's heads, but we speak directly to them so that they understand exactly what was voted on, what the impact was, right? And then what they should do next. I think that we need to do that. We need to engage folks on that level.
That was fantastic. We should do that.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Let's take the next one. Let's go right to the next one. Caller.
Alif Muhammad.
What's up, Brother Muhammad? How you doing?
I'm good, man.
Hey, man. I mean, I see you out there on the thread, and you giving some good commentary and comments. Go ahead, join into the conversation here, and and give us some of your views.
All right. Well, let me know when I'm on.
You're on right now.
Oh, okay. Well. First, Rashon.
Yes, sir.
My brother, I want to thank you for your service. very proud of you, man. Just wanted to say that. Even though we don't know each other in person, I've been watching your work.
Thank you, beloved.
You know? Brother Eric, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yeah. I'm just so happy today, man, that my mayor is the man in this town, man. I'm just so happy and stuff. I think it's time for you guys to just join on. You know, he said if you can't beat them, join them and stuff. It's time to come on in. You know, that dynamic dude, man, Raj and Mitty, I think y'all just need to come on. Eric, y'all had a private conversation. The mayor came to see you, and they, I thought you guys had worked it out and everything.
Oh, the mayor did come to see me, and I think I talked about that on one of the episodes. But we didn't have we didn't have the conversation that I had hoped to be able to have. So in full disclosure, the mayor came probably 9 or 10 deep to my father's house with Tahoes and everything, double parked down the street. So we didn't get into what I hoped that we would be able to get into. But I have extended several other invitations for him to join me to be able to have a discussion. Because look, I would love. Look, I love the city of my birth, right? I want to see it succeed. I have family members and friends there. You know my family, Ali, right?
Yes, I do.
You know my 94-year-old grandmother, right? And my Aunt Pumpkin and my team. You know all of them, right? We go back to Leslie Street, right? I know you. That's absolutely correct.
Andy and we went out together.
See, so for people, and I'm just taking you down that. And I'm just taking you down that lane so that people understand the roots that I have within the city. So I love the city, and I want it to succeed. I never root for somebody to fail, because if they fail, my friends, my family, the city that I was born and raised in fails.
In a month, give me 30 days, and I'll talk to the mayor, and I'll get the...
Well, I would love to have him on the show.
Okay.
I would love to have him on the show. And then we can have an open, look, we can have private meetings, but I love this forum. I do. I love the fact that all of these people are here. They're listening to us. You're listening to us. Thank you for your support. And people can join into the conversation about how to improve our city.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can't promise you if you're on the show, but I can promise you a private conversation.
I appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Thank you for...
And I'll work on that, I'll work on that and stuff,
All right.
I don't understand Mr. Jenkins, because the way I'm hearing it from Rahman Muhammad is that the mayor and councilwoman is trying to work together again. And, and I don't understand why Mr. Jenkins is working against that. My understanding from Rahman Muhammad is that, powwow. Matter of fact, even Mitty told me that they were trying to work it out so everybody could be happy together. I don't understand, I don't understand it.
Gail is Councilwoman Gail Cheneyfield Jenkins. I don't know anything about this. Maybe you should call and ask her. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that. I'll give her a call. I'll give her a call.
All right, thanks for calling, Ali. I kind of want to stay on topic about the education thing. Appreciate you calling. Appreciate it.
Thanks for calling, brother.
All right, so, I
got to tell you, man, I'm excited that there may be an opportunity for me to talk to him. It's been a long time since I've had an opportunity to talk to him. We needed to air some stuff out. Again, full disclosure, it came about because of a 6-minute video that he put together saying that I hated him. And so I reached out to them and said, listen, we need to talk, because I don't hate you. I love my city more than I could ever hate anybody. And so, I hope that, look, it'd be great if folks could get together. And, but the reality is there are many issues, challenges facing our community. And there are folks who are in leadership positions who are not getting the job done. And so as proud of black folk as I might be, it's not going to keep me from holding you accountable.
So, I appreciate the comment, right? Everybody has a right to their own opinion, and that's the thing that's important about what I like about our ability to be here in this space. I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm not here to talk down upon anybody. I'm here because I like to be engaged in policy-based discussions, right? I don't have to agree with everybody else's vision. I don't have to agree with everyone else's ideas as it pertains to being able to move the city forward, or as it pertains to re-engineering our educational system. That's the beautiful thing about us living in a democracy. When you have democracy, everybody has the ability to come to the table and express what they believe is best.
Right.
And that's the bottom line. And nobody should be ostracized for that. Nobody should be looked down upon for that. In fact, they should be encouraged, because that's how we end up finding the best ideas. You don't get the best ideas because there's always consensus, because there's always yes men that are just sitting around saying, hey, yeah, go do that, it sounds good, because they're not able to come up and formulate their own ideas or their own plans to do things. You get the best ideas by sitting down in those rooms and having open dialogue and going back and forth. When one person comes to the table with an idea and we don't believe that idea works, we sit down, we discuss it, we break it down. The next person comes with their idea, we sit down, we dissect it, we break it down until we arrive at that point in time where we have the best idea or the best plan to move forward. And that does not happen by just sitting in a space having constant consensus. It happens by having real dialogue, and for us to have disagreements about things at times. It doesn't mean that you don't like an individual. It doesn't mean that you hate an individual. It just means that you have a difference of opinion, and we have to be able to embrace the differences that individuals have, and then collectively extract what's good about everybody's ideas and then put them together. But we don't get that by just coming to the room, holding hands, singing Kumbaya, and just sitting here for the sake of consensus. You get that by having that disagreement. That's what leadership is about, is being able to listen to the ideas and the views of everybody. And even if you disagree with those ideas, you try to find the good and extract the value from that so that you can move things forward.
That's fantastic.
Exactly.
Very well put. Rashon, you're doing good. As far as my level of...
he has my vote whenever he runs it.
Yeah, you do have my vote, too, for whatever you do, actually. I hope you don't run for anything. I hope you run something instead of run
or something. Can we talk about what's about to happen next, though?
Absolutely.
Right. Because we were talking about solutions, right?
So the next question is, at the next board meeting, this is known as the reorganization meeting, and at that meeting, a decision will be made as to who will be the next president and vice president of the Newark Board of Education. So we know right now Antoinette Baskerville-Richardson, who is the current board chair, she did not run for re-election. Her term is coming to an end. So that leaves an automatic vacancy because you do not have the incumbent board chairperson seeking to get the support of her existing board colleagues. So that will be a vacancy. And we know right now we have Crystal Fonseca, who's serving as the vice chair of the Newark Board of Education. So this is very important as we break down the post-election results. We have to keep in mind also again that at this reorganization meeting, it will be determined, and that's not determined by us as voters. That is determined by the 9 board members who will be serving on the Newark Board of Education. So whomever gets that seat as president, they will need to get the support from themselves. Obviously, somebody should vote for themselves, right? For themselves. And then they need 4 additional votes or the support of 4 additional board members.
But I want to correct something you said. And I just got to correct it. It is not just, it's supposed to be determined by those board members, but it's determined by other people as well. And so to Farrakhan, who called in earlier and said, well, what do we lose? What do we gain? How do we gain it? How do we lose it? Well, when you look at who was in support of the people who ran, when you look at the vote counts that came out, when you look at the political strength that was shown in the election, those people who were behind the scenes who made that happen, they are very influential in helping figure out who that next board president is.
Well, listen, we can be clear.
And I just want to say that to Farrakhan, because he wants to understand in the simplest and purest terms how things get shaken out now.
We can be clear. With the host of people that we have on the school board and the new people that are joining the school board, they're not going to be picking anybody that knows how to manage that process. That's just not going to happen. So, I don't want to create, this process and talking to everyone that we believe there's going to be a fair process. That's not going to happen.
So who will be the 9 board members? Let's go down that list. We got.
So we now have Floisha Johnson once she's actually takes her oath and is sworn in, along with. Along with Josephine Garcia and Reginald Bledsoe.
Wow.
We will also have Tave Padilla, Leah Owens.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in addition? Tave Padilla, Leah Owens, Kim Gaddy.
We
also have Dashae Carter.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to Dashae Carter, we have Crystal Fonseca, and there's one more.
And I want to ask you one question, right? I think I know the answer to it, but
Who's
I just
the
want
most
to clarify.
qualified on it?
But how many of them, prior to being on the Board of Education, had any real educational experience or exposure to the educational space?
Listen, I just said earlier, let's move on back to solutions. I just said earlier that we could just forget that.
And I want to say Marquise Lewis. Marquise will have another year as well.
I was up writing all night, so I got to tell you something, I get kind of confused as we go further in this discussion. So I'm going to answer your question my way, that we could forget about it. Whatever the choice is at this moment, it is not going to be what we believe is important to deal with that issue, that $1.3 billion budget, and talk about creating an education renaissance and have enough political will and enough understanding to do that. So that's not going to happen. So, we got to get back to basics. We have to go back out into our community. We need to start having these discussions. We need to finance that. And that's what I'm committed to do, is to finance those sessions to talk about creating this education renaissance that Rashon has coined so well. And I'm giving you credit for that. That was a good one. So right now, what we have right now is a bad situation. And, we need to be realistic about that. And we need to pivot from that. And we need to start a different kind of discussion with our community, not just for next year, but ongoing. And I think this show helped to do that.
Yeah, solutions. I mean, what we have right now, and just as Farrakhan spoke about, what do we, unfortunately, we can't just wait for next year. We have to deal with what we have right now. We have to try to have people at these meetings that are able to weigh in and or record and bring back to us what's going on in these meetings, and holding people to task and letting them know that we are watching. That has to happen. We need to.
Oh, I think they know we're watching now.
Oh, absolutely. We need to have.
They know we're watching.
And moving forward with any election as well, we need to have information out there for everybody, all the information out there for everybody, letting them know that first, most importantly, that there's an election happening. A lot of people didn't even know that. Okay, so we need to have all that information out there for everybody about the election and about the individuals running. We need to promote that election thing properly. We need to get qualified candidates. We need to change the application. We're talking about what are we going to do and how can we improve. But let's improve some of the things, like let's change the application itself. Not just your age and this, that, and the other. Do you have certain qualifications? Because you should not take on any position without any credentials to supporting a particular position. I would like to see former teachers and or school administrators and others who, especially within the system, who know the system and know what's wrong with the system, to try to come in and take on a position to try to make it right. I would like to see those persons running up there. I would like to have more questions other than your name and all that, because and also be able to disqualify people based on false information, whether they have a degree, whether they manage the $800 million budget and all other kind of stuff. I like to be able to disqualify people for presenting misinformation or lies about themselves. I would like to disqualify people for that. And just as what Kevin Jenkins is also talking about, forming things and putting money behind and getting the money behind. Getting the organizations together, raising some money so we can put the money behind the people who we feel are best for us. That's the other thing that's important. Right. So all these things, and also having representatives at the polling sites, at every polling site, to ensure that everything is running in the proper
manner. That's a tactic. That's a tactic.
We need to make sure.
So here's what I want to get to.
But these are all the things in regards to the solution.
No, you're right. Let me just qualify something, because I understand the young man had mentioned my wife on this show. I happen to be married to a very bad girl. She's a bad girl. She's smart She's tough. She comes from good family. And she is quite capable of navigating her politics because she's elected. But we come from a very dynamic family. We have all kinds of opinions. And we help each other, and we educate each other, and we power each other, and we have brought huge value, her independently and me independently, into our community. And whatever discussion she's having with anyone, I want everyone on the other end of this to hear me. It is always in the best interest of her community, because that's how she was raised. She, and I've never seen her do this, from the first time she was in office to the second time she was in office. She's not a get-along, go-along girl. She asks the most important questions. She's a deep bencher. She is tough. And every time a woman is tough, and every time a woman defines leadership at another level, she's either mean, she's a horrible human being, her husband must be kicking her butt, or whatever. But this girl that I'm married to is spectacular. And the mere fact that she shows so much courage, yet again, this is not the first time. You can talk to Sharp, you can talk to the late Donald Trump, you could talk to Ron, you could talk to Georgia, you can talk to the community. She's tough enough and smart enough to make her own decisions. But what she will not do is sell her community down the river. And what she will not do is settle for mediocrity. Because we live together, we talk about this. We're concerned about global economics. We're concerned about local economics. We're concerned about education. We're concerned about sustainability. We're concerned about how we build entrepreneurs. This is just not theater for us. So please, if you have any questions for that dynamic young lady, please call her at our office. It's 973-733-5872. But if you have a question for me, please call me up on this show. Thank you.
973-457-8000. So here's what I wanted to do, right? Because you gave a whole bunch of things, Ian, but I want to engage, right? So inform, engage, and empower our audience.
Right.
Right? Inform, engage, and empower them.
Okay.
How do we now engage them? I believe that we need to task them with some things that they can do to be a part of this, so that we're all together. So you, for instance, talked about so you talked about qualifications, right? You said, we should be electing qualified candidates. We have not come to a consensus on what defines a qualified candidate, right? So when you say that, you throw that out there, but if you got 30,000 people listening, you got however many people are tuned in on Facebook, everybody might have a different understanding of what a qualified candidate is. So I think that one of the things that we can do, or I'd love to be able to do, is have them weigh in. Maybe we create a separate page where we can have folks list what they believe should be qualifications. We can kind of go through that. We can offer our commentary and maybe come to something. There we go. And come to something and say, okay, now we all agree that these are qualifications that we can look for. And then we can move to the next thing. Down the list. But to just give that list without tasking folks with things to do, with measurable end results and timelines as well, I'm concerned that those things will just go on. I'm going to take this call. We're going to be real quick, call, because we're running out of time. Yep. You're on air?
Yes, really quick question. Out of the 40,000 students that are currently enrolled in Newark Public Schools, and this question is for Kevin and Rashon or whoever else wants to weigh in, out of that percentage, how many of them are elementary school children, so that estimated, how many of that 40,000 are elementary students? Reason I'm asking is those parents, I think, should have a vested interest in the direction of policies, the business management of the school district, qualified business transactions, and the management around those as they move toward local control. But that was really the question. What is the estimated percentage of the 40,000 enrolled kids?
Yeah, so
that are elementary.
Yeah, so I don't have the number off the top of my head right now, but I can tell you based off of the last data NPS put on their website from the 2015-2016 summary, that 69% of all kids enrolled in Newark Public Schools were in pre-K through grades 8.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hasan.
You're welcome.
Wow. Thank you for the call.
69%, that's significant. Yeah. Okay, thank you, guys. It's Che.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
And this is the last thing I want to say, and then I'm going to turn this over to you guys for the next 5 minutes, and I'm going to
Che Coulter.
Yeah, and then I'm going to watch the time to make sure we end on time. Is this in terms of the recourse when we elect people, or when people are elected, and they wind up being bad people. When we're talking about the Board of Education, now, when we're talking about the municipal government, there's a recall process that we can go through. There is no recall on the Board of Education.
Yeah.
I want you guys to understand that. So there is no recall. You elect somebody, they get elected, they're there for 3 years.
Unless they break one of those laws.
Unless they break one of those laws.
But there are some things you can do. These if individuals are violating any aspect of the ethics laws, they can be reported to the state ethics commission. But again, I don't think there's a precedent or any process to unseat a sitting board member unless they've gone out and committed a crime, been found guilty of.
But do you think that we should have that? I mean, if we can recall the mayor, we can recall the council, we can recall any other elected official. Shouldn't we be able to recall board members?
Absolutely. Because what that says at the end of the day, if you don't have a process, what that says to the people is, this person is here, now you're stuck with that person until their term ends or until that person decides to, resign or whatever the case may be. And then if you are someone who serves in that seat and you know that, then you probably don't care about, being held accountable if you're one of those people, because you know that there's no stick on the other end of that, at the other end of that person who's screaming and hollering and saying, hey, we want to hold you accountable. And it's like, okay, hold me accountable how? You're gonna impeach me? You're gonna recall? Like, what are you gonna do? And some people actually know that, and I think they play off of that when they're in those positions and they're in those roles.
Well, yeah, go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, only because Kevin asked a question before the caller. How do we engage the community? How do we engage everybody? And, being that this was supposed to be Health and Wellness Wednesday, I would let's deal with the emotional wellness and the mental wellness that, that we...
segueing into Health and Wellness Wednesday?
Hey, I'm going to help you out with that.
Wow, that was heavy, man.
Check this out. Well, and we called it off because today was necessary. First thing we have to do is deal with our emotional and mental current status right now of the fact that we are some of us may be a little bit depressed, and or having a feeling of being disempowered, right?
Are we gonna give them the 800 hotline to call?
Jesus Christ.
But there's a solution to that. To address your depression and or feeling of being disempowered is by getting involved, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to empower ourselves. We need to realize what we...
But what are we going to do? I want to give them something to do. Before this episode is over, I want to give them something to do that's measurable, that when we come back, we can say, as partners, we did something, they did something, and this is what we have. And then move down.
Can I say that's big. Everybody's got a lot of stuff going on in their lives. I'm going to get to where you're going. I think that what they need to do is get up, go into wherever room there's a mirror,
hug,
and look in it and say, is this it? Is this it? This is what's going to represent me? Don't I need to do better? Don't I need to care about my children's education? Shouldn't I invest my time to empower these kids in our community so we can have a thriving marketplace where we can educate, empower, and discuss issues that have high impact on our lives? Go look at yourself in the mirror, because there was a group of people out there that did not go out to vote because they're angry, because they might not know what's going on. I don't know about that. But I believe that they're angry and they're looking for answers, but the answer starts with them. Not with, we can come up with as many solutions as we want to. We can put a strategy together. We can do all that. But it starts with them. If they are comfortable with this mediocrity, they should not look for any returns, and they should not look for us, right, to give them all of the solutions, when in fact, because of what we're seeing, we know they're not going to do anything. They're not going to act.
Right, but not voting because you're angry is a terrible reason.
Well, wait a minute, but I'm just giving, that's just an example.
I got a minute.
Right. So the issue for me is not about the solutions we're coming up with right now. We're starting the debate. We're having a dialogue. We're giving commentary. We're looking at, if we didn't have this conversation about those numbers, if we didn't have this conversation about education all week, I dare say there might have been a lot of people on the other end that might not have had that conversation in their kitchen or with their husband or with their daughter. So something good came out of this, right? And I'm not here to prop up your personality.
Right.
I'm here to talk about what is valuable.
Absolutely.
I'm not here to make you feel good. You know, I'm here to tell the truth. Because if you stand in front of us and you sell us an untruth, well, guess what? This is why we have this forum, so we can say, you're not telling us the truth. And right now, the citizens of Newark feel like we're not being told the truth.
Now, what I want to say, the last 10 minutes before we got to go off, my guy is 10 seconds. My guy is coming with the antioxidant water. So I'm going to say the second caller that calls in right now get a free case, and then, so that's how we'll do our Wellness Wednesday. Okay. You get a free case of the antioxidant water if you're the second caller that calls in.
973-457-8000.
Thanks for giving that, man. This is Eric.
This is Kevin.
This is Rashon.
And this is Ian.
And we're out.
Peace.
This has been the Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Like that healthy
It's not just about Eric's opinion. It's about understanding what's really going on.
Tune in Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock a.m.
Just continuing to talk about what elected leadership isn't doing without talking about the people who elected the elected leadership and what they're not doing to hold them accountable and or replace them. I think that I'd be doing you a disservice.
Right here on 94 Radio, 94.3. Brennan.
Yeah, so that was well, I have to point it out, Eric. It was Health and Wellness Wednesdays that we did. We kind of put that to the side.